feeling like I'm academics.
I want to give you a review. Okay. Rod Wave concert review. And he also invited me to 2 other shows. Specifically, one, I won't tell you which one because maybe I go. But, by the way, these artists like when I come out to shows. You know what I mean? I give like the realistic, and I've always told y'all, I like doing concert reviews. Like, that's one of the things. I'm while some of these niggas, you get the Manos of the world that come there to look tough and just huffing and puffing and just looking all jealous at niggas and shit. I go to these concerts to see how these guys are really rocking it. And I use that to be like, because again, if I sit here on the internet and I talk about artists, I did it with Russ first. If you don't go see these guys and see like how people that are not you, maybe you're not that big of a fan. You go to a Rod Wave concert, they're crying. Yo, they're balling in there. I remember the first Rod Wave concert I went to. There was these group of females, and they weren't all in the same section, but they were females. I did point that out. And they've been following his tour from city to city. These are black females. And you could tell they felt like they were almost damn near dating him. When it comes to Rod Wave's concert and his tour, it's like YoungBoy's tour, except it's flipped on demographics. YoungBoy's the only person I know that brings out 75% male black men. 75% men that are black. Could be younger kids or whatever, but they're men that are black or males that are black. Usually, if anybody know about throwing a party or an event, you usually want to get 60% of women and the niggas will follow up. And the niggas going to spend the money because they want to get with 60% of the women. When YB throw a show, it's heavy niggas in there. There's women too. But at most, I would say it's 35% women. I think it's 70% men. With Rod Wave is different. Now, one thing he has that no one has is that it's primarily African American. It's primarily people who come from, I would say, around the same environment like YB fans, except these are the females that pop out the most, and these are the people who feel that they come from certain situations, the hood, whatever, and his music has powered them through emotionally through a lot of different things. I'm always impressed by his audience and YB's audience. By the way, I think both of them could go on a tour, and that tour could be astronomical. By the way, don't want to give the spoiler because I talked about some stuff, but would y'all like to see a Rod Wave and YB tour? Or maybe a couple shows. Would y'all like to see that? What would that even look like? And if that happens, let me put it in the dream world. What about a stadium? Y'all think they could do a stadium? Keep in mind, 17,000 sold out, Barclays. You had YoungBoy who came there. He did the same amount, but he also did Jersey, Boston. Rod's tour is a little bit abridged this time because it's the first time he's doing his tour. But I get to let me get to the details and the business. To details of the tour, let me tell you this. And I said this to Rod's face. I said, Rod, I came out to your Beautiful Minds tour. I remember the first time they invited me out. I got to be honest with you. I think Rod Wave's an amazing talent. That wasn't the best show. His fans was in there crying, passionate, but his stage performance wasn't the best. I never said it at the time because you got to allow artists to grow. It was a simple stage setup. It was just like this house that was there, and he walked out. And I remember me being there with some of the people who didn't know Rod Wave at the time. You know why Rod Wave likes me? I want to let y'all know this. So when I was at Everyday Struggle, this is 2018, Rod Wave was this new artist, and I remember they were trying to remember, he's on the same label as Dirk. I have a relationship with this label because of Dirk. By the way, one of the guys who now is the main guy on his team, works for Alamo. They're one of the guys who work with Dirk. I don't know what his relationship was with any other like media outlet. I think maybe him and Sean got into some stuff. But I love the stuff he was doing early on. I embraced, and every time his label came to me with a song, yo, they're trying to break a young Rod Wave. They're trying to break him. I was like, nah, I love this shit. It's like, look at this fat dude. He's talented. I fuck with it. And I showed him a lot of love. And Rod is a real nigga because Rod never forgot about that. His music started to go up and go up. And a lot of times people forget the steps and the stones they take to get to the other side of the bridge they had to cross. And Rod hit me up a bunch of times and he said, yo, I just want to always tell you, I'm going to forever appreciate you because when I was in that part of my career where I needed you, man, you showed me so much love. I fuck with you. We've kept that relationship for years. Y'all know me. I'm a relationship type of person when it comes to dealing with artists. It's not always about an interview, right? And I think I do a good job picking those relationships because most of the people who I pick to have relationships with, they turn out to be superstars. They don't turn out to be like, okay. They turn out to be superstars. Playboy Cardi, NBA Youngboy, Rod Wave. These are people who I didn't join in. You see, I wouldn't mention Drake because Drake was on before I got on. So I wouldn't mention him. But I could mention these artists because I remember at the early iterations of their career, me supporting them. And then when the time came where we were interacting, I never looked at them as, all right, you're just another fucking artist. Come here and give me an interview that I could just get my business going on. I try to build relationships. And also 6ix9ine, obviously, right? So that's me and Rod's relationship. I remember him inviting me to the show. And when I went to the show, Beautiful Minds, it wasn't the best show. And just realistically speaking, the music was hitting. Music was great. But one thing I'll definitely say is that it takes an artist a while to figure out what a great stage performance was. From my perspective, and I can only speak for me, I think Rod Wave was a little bit shy. He wasn't maybe as comfortable in his own skin at that point. You know, everybody, people have jokes about him, me, or whatever. Cool. It was a simple stage setup. He walked out. It was an arena. And when he walked out in that arena, he performed, and my mans who I brought with me, so because the people I brought with me, I had like 5 people. They didn't really know Rod Wave that much, but I told them, I said, nah, this is my guy. I got to go watch him. When we're watching the show, they say to me, why does he perform like that? Now I'm going to explain it to you. If anybody went to the Beautiful Minds tour, I only went to one date that time, but Rod Wave walked out. He would come out of this little house-looking thing. That was his set. And when he was performing, his back was to the crowd. His back was to the crowd. It was noticeable to the people I'm with because they've never seen an artist perform with their back to the crowd. And he was like almost eyes closed, just singing into the mic, and he was like really passionate. But you could tell like he didn't really know stage presence. He wasn't really like interacting with the fans. And I think he just wanted to go up there and just sing his song. And that's from my perspective. Somebody could be like, act, you're wild, and that's not what happened. That's cool. I'm telling you what I seen. The fans loved it because, the thing about Rod is not a sex appeal nigga. He's not a nigga who does the most. He's not overly animated. He's a guy that comes with passion, great music, and he comes with the shit. That's why there were people in there crying. So he sung, and my guy who I brought to, I'll tell you about the Houston show, that I'll tell you this, because those are different tours, and I've just seen him turn into a great performer. That's what I'm telling you about this performance, that the fans were there, the passion was there, but his performance wasn't all the way there yet. My boy always would joke. He'd be like, man, we went to that Rod Wave show. Yeah, that nigga was just singing into the mic. He was just like looking, because you could see him on the Jumbotron, but he wasn't looking at the fans. And they were like, yo, he was just singing to the mic, and like every like about 40 seconds or so, he had like this rag, he would wipe his sweat, and he was just, and my man was just like, he would always like joke about that. But yeah, that was the tour at that point. Still, I was impressed. He sold out an arena. It's hard to sell an arena. Another reason why, is the reason why I like Youngboy. I don't like an artist who got to be in the cool crew just to go do some shit. If you need 5 artists to be dick around you and all of y'all run up in a venue together, all the so-and-so and friends and something, no. Do y'all thing. Another reason why I liked and I enjoyed going to Rod's concert, Rod had nobody with him. When I was backstage that time with Rod, there was nobody there. He wasn't a rapper who needed to dick ride somebody else to have a bunch of friends, and that's what most of these rappers do. They insulate themselves with other niggas that's hot because they don't really believe in themselves like that. And they play the dick riding game. Rod, same with Youngboy. Nobody. They're just there by themselves. By the way, I'll tell you, even for this show, his one opener was YTB Fat. He showed love to Max B. Max B came on, and then it was Rod Wave. That's it. There's no bunch of everybody. Nah, cut that out. He don't need it. It's Rod Wave. So I always was impressed by that. I knew over time his performance was going to get better. He invited me out again. He said, I want to do an interview, but not like one of those sit-down interviews. You know, I'm not comfortable with that. And I've always been cool with artists when I'm not trying to get you out of your comfort level just to get a fucking clip or whatever. Like, bro, I do millions of views by myself. I don't need to try to exploit you. Like, so if we have a relationship, let's make it work. He said, you know what'd be dope? Let's come to the show and let's do more a day in a life. That would be more comfortable with me. And I said, I'll do a day in a life with you. He said, well, my tour starts in Phoenix. Then we go to Dallas. And like the third or fourth day was Houston. And I said, I'll pop up to Houston. I want to see how you rock out in Houston. I went there. They showed me so much love. Salute to Rod Wave. His team brought me all around. We went to the mall. We did this. I watched him shop. I watched him interact with everybody. Just watch him just be a really regular person. And I went to the show, and I saw the production value upped. Now, we had talked some business in. I'm going to throw some business in this, too. Because at that time, and I don't think Rod cares about me mentioning some numbers now because there's some lawsuits going around, and those numbers are already out. Rod had told me he had secured almost like a $60 million deal for a tour. He chose not to go with Live Nation. He was going to get, I think about like $700,000 or so per show. This new other company, AG at the time, gave him more money. They basically gave him the entire money. And this is what I like about Rod Wave, and this is when we talk about business. Rod Wave is a hands-on guy. He started doing deals and he realized how important live shows were. When now it was upon him to like hire what he wanted. So you get $60 million. You could do, remember I told you about his first show? You could do the basic level production. No pyrotechnics, no smoke, no this, no that. And you could, if it's $60 million, you could pay for your production with $6 million, $7 million. So you take home $50 million. By the time I went to this Houston show, his performance and the stage and everything else, he told me the numbers. He said, they gave me 60. I kept 40. But I took 20 and I went and got one of the best production crews. So basically, from 60 million, he took 40. 20 goes back into production. He said, I was inspired by Drake's tour. The Drake It's a Blur tour. The tour where, and by the way, that's why you see even this, because this is another step up. He said, I'm not a nigga who's going to be on stage dancing. I'm not doing too much, but I want to give a hell of a show. He said, when I watched Drake on that It's a Blur tour, he had a 360 stage. I wanted the 360 stage. Some of the problems on that tour happened because of the production he went with. I ain't going to lie to you. But he paid a pretty penny for it. $20 million for production. And for him, he was saying to me and saying to everybody, I care about my shows. My shows, rather than just saying I could make this amount per show, I want to make this shit good. I went to that Houston show. The show was amazing. He was a markedly better performer than he was when I saw him first, but also everything else helped him. I don't know if there was dancer, but there's a lot of pyrotechnics, lights. They had the lift that lifted him into the crowd. Because I remember he told me, he said, Drake did this thing where Drake stood on this thing and it lifted him and catapulted him into the crowd where people could feel like they were close to Drake because Drake was hovering above them. He said, I wanted to do that. He did it. And I'm not going to lie, I watched that performance. That performance looked great. It looked better. It was meeting, his thing is vocal delivery. He's getting his energy and stage performance up a little bit because he's no longer, remember, he's now on a 360 stage. He can't turn his back to the crowd no more because no matter where you turn your back to, there's a crowd. It's 360. But he's also getting more comfortable. Not to make a long story short, not to make a long story long, or a short story long, because that's what I do. This performance around, this was the best production value and performance value I've seen him have. Sold out arena. He worked every inch of that stage. Pause. Stage presence was there. Confidence was there. Vocal talent clearly always is there. Connecting with the fans. This is Rod Wave at his peak. Now, let me get to the business because, again, the show is amazing. They have monitors 4 sides around up top. He's on there by himself. No hype man, no backup singers, no nothing. He's there, one-man band. He's doing the whole thing. On the lower thing where the stage is at, there's screens as well that have all type of stuff. It's really high production. So eventually, the show is great. I go back there and me and him were kicking it. And he said, this is the part of the business that he's one of the most proudest about. Now, Rod Wave has been through a lot. Rod Wave has been there. Live Nation has been trying to get him under their control that they could throw him whatever. Yeah, at this point, let me throw you, let's give you $800,000. He's figured out the live game, and he figured it out from before because when he had taken the deal, and I think he had gotten like $700 with this new production company for the one I went to Houston, Live Nation offered him $400. Live Nation, they're the big dogs on the block. If they control the situation, they give you whatever. You got to take it. But really, there's way more money. If you think about the money that's getting collected in these venues, right? He's selling over $2 million in tickets. He's selling $500,000 in merch. Are we talking about concessions? Obviously, they're not going to give you the venue stuff like concessions and liquor and whatever that's sold there. But if you think about it, you are grossing as an artist $3 million, $3.5 million when you add ticket sales, merch, this and third. If Live Nation takes over everything for you, they'll throw you a nominal fee of, okay, cool. All right, here's that $700,000 or $800,000. But then they get to collect $1.5 million. Why? You don't control your merch at that point. You don't control, all the ticket sales. Like, you're basically just doing this big deal. And then you forfeit so many things that Live Nation does. So what he did was break down the numbers for me. And this is where, I hope most artists, especially if they could bring a crowd out. Not every artist could do this. Some of these artists are only Rolling Loud artists. Like, they can't really do what he's doing. Show me the raw numbers. $2 million and $50,000. $50,000 was for a jet. There's a $500,000 deposit to get the venue. This was the first show. Once the tickets hit a certain mark, he got that money, and then once the thing sold out, he got the other rest, which was the $1 million. So it was $500,000 once it went to a certain plateau, and then another $500,000 before, and then there was $1 million then, and then there was another $500,000 before, and then a jet money. Here's the point, not to really bore you with all the details. The business that he's operating on is one that I feel like if rappers who all claim they're hustlers really know how to market themselves, don't play about some bullshit, and make great music, they could be doing the same. They could be doing what Rod Wave is doing. And now, a lot of artists also talk that shit, but they don't show it. You know what Rod Wave did? Say, oh, hold on, Act, I don't want you to be back here and just hit, because everybody back there was all teeth. They smiling. They know. It's like they're hitting a lick. Now, he's breaking everything down, and you would think, you'd be like, all right, just, trust me, bro. He said, nope, give me the phone. Gets the phone. He shows exactly how it works. He said, usually we work with a promoter. Whether it's Live Nation, we work with this other company. I've cut the middleman out. I'm working with these venues directly. we form a deal that's been structured kind of like this, and based on the ticket sales we feel we're going to get in the majority of cities, this is the money that we know we could guarantee. We bring our own merchant. We bust it from city to city. We control everything. We don't need the middleman. Keep in mind, I'm super proud of him because when we were back in Houston, Live Nation was trying to get him so bad. Live Nation flew out a representative to show up there to try to, hey, okay, no, we see, no, you're doing a great show here. We want to get you under the fold. We want to. Again, obviously, it's probably more headaches for him. He's building out a team. And one of the final questions I asked him while we were back there in the dressing room, I said, do you ever take a second and think, how your uncle would feel about all this shit you're doing now? And it was like a real, almost emotional moment where he's like, yeah. He's like, man, he's like, one thing with me, I've always learned a lot from, like, people who are my elders. And, like, I'm one of them people who, if you have, like, an old head around who say some shit, I don't be like, man, go ahead, old school. He's like, no, I'm going to take that shit to heart and actually put it to our action. So, yeah, really great thing he's doing. And I hope a lot of artists learn from or collaborate with him. Because, I won't mention names, but he talked about trying to help other artists who he knows could pull the crowd, who really, why would you shoot yourself in the leg and be a pawn to Live Nation and be controlled by them? They give you whatever and they set all the terms. If you could do it yourself, they're not coming out because of Live Nation. They're coming out because of Rod Wave. And yeah, salute to him. All right. My bad. I probably dragged that a little bit, huh? Then, holy. All right. Chat, let me see if I can give, like, maybe one more topic. If not, I got to be out of here. I love y'all. This is Christmas. I know. Give me a break. I will, we still got to be back on tomorrow. Nothing don't stop. But I wanted to be on here with y'all to let y'all know, I've been really committed these last couple weeks. And I appreciate you guys for being committed with me as well. So Diddy is officially filing his appeal, and this appeal is